Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 170th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing great, Cam. It's the day before Thanksgiving. Get a little time off from work. It's a good time. Good time of the year.
Yeah. Which is better, Thanksgiving or Christmas? Food-wise. Sorry, I'm talking food-wise.
Food?
Yeah.
Okay. Honestly, I'm not like a huge turkey fan, but I feel like I just like it because it's like a tradition, I guess. I just eat it because it's what you do on Thanksgiving, but I'm more of a ham person probably myself.
Sure.
What about you?
Not a huge turkey fan either, but if you give me the turkey and I can just like pile mashed potatoes and corn and like stuffing and gravy all on top of it and just eat it all together, totally fine.
There you go.
Yeah.
You're one of those mixers.
Yeah, I didn't used to be. I was very, as like a child, I was very like keep everything separate.
Okay.
If it touches, that's bad. But you know,
I'm right there with you.
Kids are pretty dumb, so I grew out of that, and I also didn't do gravy back then. Really, that kind of freaked me out or something. So yeah, as an adult, yeah,
come to your senses.
Mix it all together, throw gravy on it. We're all good. Producer Cameron?
I'm more of an appetizer kind of guy.
Yeah?
That chicken cheese dip, the cheese ball with pistachio coating on it.
That's very specific.
Very specific things. That's what
basically those are my two favorite Thanksgiving
Okay.
things for sure.
All right.
We also get those things at Christmas, so it's really hard to decide between the two of them.
Similar food for sure.
Yeah.
I don't really care much for like traditional desserts around the holidays.
Like a pumpkin pie,
pecan pie. I'm not really a pie guy in general, but I'm a chocolate fan, as you both know. So I can do a chocolate pie, but it also kind of feels like a waste. Just give me like brownies and cookies and I'm good. Hope everybody out there is enjoying maybe a little bit of time off for Thanksgiving. Hopefully we're giving you something to listen to maybe while you're driving to your in-laws' house, or if you just got the day off from work and you're just chilling, watching football. Hopefully we can keep you company. We have some good news in the world of Mizzou football mostly, but Mizzou basketball did get a win. We've got some recruiting to talk about, some potential wins there. Before we jump into all of that, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube or leave us a review on the podcast platform that you listen on. And if you want to support the podcast directly, you can do that on our Patreon page, patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. Kyle, let's start with recruiting. Mizzou got their first commitment of the 2023 class. So Twitter was all abuzz over that, as it should be. So that's pretty exciting. Brett Norfleet, a tight end, pretty highly rated, and I'm stealing your thunder a little bit here, but potentially a little bit underrated. So why don't you tell us a little bit about him?
Brett Norfleet, first committed the 2023 class, which I think I've said before that I think the 2023 class has a chance to be really special for Mizzou, and obviously getting off to a great start here. It seems like it's a sign of the times that, you know, we got a 4-star tight end from Missouri. I mean, that's a big deal. In-state 4-star, that didn't always come easily in previous staff. So that is a testament to the great recruiting that Coach Drinkwitz has been doing recently. But Brett is 6'7", from Francis Howell in St. Charles, Missouri. He's going to be playing baseball as well.
I think the baseball team is pretty excited.
Yeah, seriously. The Coach Drink is filling out the baseball team with Sam Horn and Brett Norfleet. But anyways, I was watching his film. He's an exciting athlete. I mean, he plays defensive line too. He's explosive. He has great hands in the receiving game. It also is a great blocker. So I don't even know how Mizzou's going to utilize him, but he definitely looks like he can be pretty versatile and can be used in a lot of different ways. And we saw in this game against Florida that we're going to talk about, but Nico Hay was used pretty heavily and was a big part in that victory. So Coach Drink wants to use the tight ends, so I'm excited about Brett Norfleet.
Yeah, there's been some fans I've seen some chirping on Twitter about the fact that we haven't utilized tight ends as much as some people would like. And I can understand that a little bit, but you can say the same thing about wide receivers to some extent this season. I think I like how Coach Drinkwitz integrates the tight ends around the goal line. Obviously, we saw that in the Florida game as well. So, yeah, this is super exciting. 6'7", 220, according to 24/7 Sports. Then around 200th best player in the entire class. So that's pretty solid. He is the 11th best tight end, according to 24/7 Sports for the class of 2023. Interestingly, there is a tight end from DeSmet, Mac Markway, who's committed to Florida. Maybe keep an eye out there. I don't think Mizzou would be opposed to bringing in two high-caliber tight ends like that. You really can't have enough tight ends on your roster sometimes. But, yeah, any Florida commitments that have Missouri ties, might as well keep an eye on them.
Yeah, especially 2023. So, there's plenty of time to get some work done in that recruitment. And also Florida, they're going to have a different coach by the time he's there. So, I agree.
Super excited for Brett Norfleet, first commitment. Let's keep it rolling. I want to mention there's been some buzz with two other recruits. We've talked about him before. DJ Weslak from Boonville. He's a defensive end. He is one of the top players in the state of Missouri, still for 2022. He's a 4-star, about 180 nationally, 6'4", 235. Kind of want to refresh everybody because he was not, it didn't seem like Mizzou was going to be the destination for him for quite a while because he had a Clemson offer and crystal ball picks for Clemson, and that looked like a foregone conclusion at one point. They seemed to cool on him, and then also he had some legal issues that arose that kind of shut down his recruitment for a little bit and his football playing his senior year, which is unfortunate. But he was cleared of the charges that were originally brought against him, and there's very little information about that online. You can try to find some more information if you want, but there's not a whole lot out there. So now his recruitment has ramped back up, and it really seems like Missouri is going all in his recruitment. We've seen DJ himself tagging Mizzou recruits in the 2022 class. We've seen current players and current committed recruits tagging him and stuff, telling him to stay home, stuff like that. So seems like some positive momentum there for Missouri.
Yeah, usually you don't see the players getting involved in recruiting battles unless there's really a pretty good chance that they're going to come to Mizzou. That's not always the case, but it's a pretty good indicator that seems that things are pretty hot with that particular recruit. So, yeah, like you said, 6'4", 235. He's a edge rusher. He's very fast, very athletic. Would be great to get on the D-line. From Missouri's backyard, literally. He's been around Mizzou his whole life. It's been an up and down recruitment. It's been one of the more unique ones maybe that I've followed in a long time. It just kind of seemed like we had no chance with him. Wanted to get out of Missouri, and some guys want that, and but now it kind of seems like it's flipped a little bit, and at this point I think I'd be surprised if he didn't come to Missouri. So it's been all over the place.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier when we were talking about this, he released a top 15 schools that Missouri didn't make the list. Yeah. So it was seemed pretty obvious at that time that it wasn't happening. Yeah. But things obviously change, and Missouri seems to be right in the thick of it, and with a pretty good chance to bring him on board with already an historic. I'm
a historic.
Yeah,
historic
H's are weird. Yeah, already a historic class for Missouri. Could get even better.
Yeah, I think that Missouri really impressed him last summer when they did the Night at the Zoo thing. Whenever they just had a pretty exclusive group of recruits. They went over to Coach Drink's house and hung out and everything. And I remember, we were getting some really good vibes from a lot of top recruits at that event. But DJ Weslak was definitely one of those guys. But it seemed like Missouri made a lot of progress that night. Kind of made a great impression on him. And ever since that night, I think it seems like Missouri has been a little bit more in the forefront than they were, but they just continue to climb in for him. So definitely one to keep an eye on. I would kind of put him on commitment watch maybe. Signing day is only like a couple weeks away, so I would expect there's a pretty good chance that he is a part of Missouri's signing class on that first week of December. I'm not actually sure exactly what day signing day is. I can figure that out though.
While you're looking at that, I will introduce another 2023 recruit that was visiting Mizzou this past weekend, Samuel Pimba. He is a 5-star recruit. He's considered an just athlete because he plays wide receiver and defensive end. He plays for IMG Academy. I believe they're in Florida. And he's the number 18 player in the 2023 class, according to 24/7 Sports Composite, the number 1 athlete. And he would be the top player in the state of Missouri. He's originally from St. Louis, but the state rankings are all messed up because he is from St. Louis but plays in Florida, so they don't know what to do with him right now on the website. But he is 6'4", 230, and like I said, plays wide receiver and defensive end. He visited campus, did the photo shoots, was very active on Twitter, seemed to really enjoy his visit. So that's definitely a name to watch. That would be just, I mean, we'd be talking about him like Luther Burden, basically. Yeah. I mean, he's 5-star, like off the charts measurables. Definitely a guy that's going to be sought after by every single program in the country. So if Mizzou's being talked about, then that's all we can ask for at this point.
For sure. Yeah, I don't know how good Mizzou's chances truly are there, but it's still great to see that he really enjoyed his visit and getting a lot of mentions on Twitter. But signing day is December 15th this year, which seems a little bit later than it normally is. So still about 3 weeks, I guess, to go until signing day.
And Wesolak's like one of the top players.
Like uncommitted
prospects. If there's teams jumping in at the last second to kind of fill out their recruiting boards, I mean, that wouldn't surprise me at all. Mm-hmm. All right. So we can move on to the football game against Florida. Huge game. Missouri beat Florida 24-23 in overtime. Where to begin? It was kind of a slow game, like a lot of field goals early. That was a little bit disappointing. The offense was very sluggish. Took a while for Tyler Beatty to get going. He eventually did. Kind of a defensive struggle, but the teams were moving the ball sometimes, and then would just get stagnant in the red zone, have to kick field goals. At halftime, it was 9-6 Mizzou. They each scored a touchdown in the second half. But then, I don't know, where do you want to jump in here? We can talk about Missouri's offense just kind of struggling for the whole first half, and then finally opening it up a little bit with Tyler Beatty in the second half.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about it from the players' point of view, because they know, Tyler Beatty made a comment after the game about Florida getting tired as the game went on, and they could tell that when they got to overtime, they felt confident about their ability to score, because they could tell the Florida players are getting tired. That's something that I don't really think about that much watching a game. We or just at home on our couch or in the stands, it's hard to tell sometimes when players are getting tired and how much of a difference that can make. It's not a video game. These aren't robots. These are players. And when you're playing, a 60-minute game, conditioning definitely comes into play. Especially, I can think of myself trying to play sports. Conditioning comes into play very, very quickly. So it makes sense that they knew they could take advantage of Florida, and that just seemed to be the case. They were a little stagnant at the beginning, but by the end of the game, Tyler Beatty was breaking off long runs, and in overtime he was cutting through them easily. So.
With like 3 minutes left in the third quarter, that was when Beatty had his first like big run. And I don't know if he was necessarily fast enough. If he breaks that last tackle, I don't know if somebody maybe catches him, but a couple of those runs were very close to being, 20 yards longer, if not more, if he just doesn't get tripped up at the last second. But he ended up with 27 carries for 146 yards and a touchdown. And a lot of that came in the fourth quarter, and they just handed it to him twice in overtime to get the touchdown. Florida's defense definitely slowed down. But I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Let's just talk about Mizzou's defense keeping them in this game early, because that was the story of the first half. I feel like I was very nervous because I thought the offense has to do something to take advantage of what the defense is giving them, because I wasn't confident that the defense would be able to hold up like they were all game. I was like, we got to be scoring touchdowns eventually here.
Yeah, the defense has made a complete 180. I can't even believe how different of a unit they are than they were at the beginning of the season. We knew that Florida's offense could present some challenges with a mobile quarterback. They've had a good offense all season, but Missouri's defense has just been surging, man. The last few games, they have been dominant at the line of scrimmage. The Chad Bailey has provided a spark. Even Blaze Aldridge has completely turned around his game. And I guess I'm just going to believe Steve Wilkes when he says that nothing has changed in the scheme, and they've clearly they've just picked it up. They've understood it. They know their assignments. They know where they're supposed to be. I guess I'm just going to take his word for it, but they just continue to get better in every game.
Yeah, I mean, Emory Jones didn't have a bad game necessarily. I mean, not incredibly efficient throwing the ball, 20 for 32, 261 yards, but he also had 17 carries for 45 yards rushing. So not bad, but he was like the only one that could really do anything. I mean, Missouri's defense held the running backs to 2.8, 3.2, and 1 yard per carry. They're 3 running backs that touch the ball. So that's pretty impressive. We almost can't say enough about especially the run defense turnaround. I mean, obviously couldn't get worse than they were, but to turn that around to actually being successful in stopping the run in back-to-back SEC games is incredible.
Yeah, they went from historically bad to like borderline dominant.
Yeah.
I just have no clue how that happened. But one other thing I wanted to point out was Caleb Evans missed this game. I guess he was dealing with a minor injury, and Darius Jackson, true freshman, stepped in, and he was fantastic.
Yeah.
He was making great plays. He was tackling guys for a loss. He looked
fast.
Yeah. He did a really, really good job. So that gives me some hope for the future of the defense too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Switching back to offense, we talked about Tyler Beatty. Connor Bazelak, what a weird game for him. Yeah. I mean, we talked about last week how inefficient he was in the South Carolina game. He was absolutely equally as inefficient in this Florida game. Like, his numbers are not anything impressive whatsoever. But he had some absolutely huge plays. Of course, the touchdown in overtime, the 2-point conversion attempt, is like borderline legendary now for like moments since Mizzou has joined the SEC. I don't know though. And he is doing everything right. I mean, like, off the field, he was asked about boos being heard in the stadium. He said, I can't do anything. I can't control it. I can't worry about that. He was like, if I'm performing, those same fans are going to be cheering. So, and that's exactly what happened. They were definitely cheering at the end of this one.
Yeah, there was some speculation coming into the game on whether he would start. I felt like I kind of always knew in my heart that it would be him. If he was healthy enough, he was going to play.
I was ready to see Brady Cook for sure.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are.
Yeah.
But he was again pretty like unspectacular, but just did exactly what he needed to do to get the win. Had like you said, the really clutch play in overtime. That's going to be a memorable play, and people will forget the rest of the game. And he didn't have a lot of other great plays, but he did what he could to move us down the field.
And he didn't have the head-scratchingly awful throws that resulted in interceptions and short fields for the offense.
That was the difference right there, for sure. Not throwing 2 terrible interceptions like he did the game before.
But, I mean, it's kind of crazy how similar this game was to the South Carolina game for him outside of the interceptions, because, once again, 2 big plays. If you take the 2 biggest plays away from his stat line, then he's 13 for 25 for just 74 yards. That's 3 yards per attempt. And like maybe that sounds like a ridiculous thing to do, take away the two biggest plays from your quarterback and then see what happens. But if you do the same thing for Emory Jones in this game, there's like 70 yards or so, or actually there's 100 yards that you can take away off of the two biggest plays. And one of them is even more justifiable to get rid of than anything Connor Bazelak has done, because it was that nearly 50-yard gain at the end of the first half that actually got a little bit scary.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, that was just complete garbage yards that added to Jones' stat line.
Yeah, he got to like the 5-yard line or something, didn't he?
Yeah.
He got pretty close.
But even if you do that for Jones, he's has as many yards as Bazelak had in the entire game, just about like 160. And instead of 3 yards per attempt for Bazelak, it'd be 5 yards per attempt for Jones. So it's not an exaggeration to point out. I don't feel like it's ridiculous to point out how inefficient Bazelak has been throwing the ball. And part of that is the scheme. They're not wanting to throw the ball deep. He's having to rely on guys to make plays with their legs after he gets them the ball. And we did see Ncaa do exactly that. He had 2 big gains. Most of it was with his legs. Huge touchdown late. And on a good throw from Bazelak, he kind of did a shoulder shrug to get the safety towards the middle of the field and then hit Ncaa for a big touchdown. And like a breath of fresh air have been these occasional throws down the field to Towski Dove. There was one play on the sideline where Dove made a really good play on the ball to come up with the catch, but it was just an opportunity to let him make a play one-on-one. There was a couple of those in this game. It was kind of refreshing, but we're still just not seeing those. We're not even seeing like medium range throws.
No.
It's just all around the line of
it's
scrimmage.
It's like completely lateral or I mean, Dove did have a good game. He had two receptions for 72 yards. But the other wide receivers, I mean, Barrett Bannister had 3 catches for 15 yards. Kiki Chisholm had 1 catch for 7 yards.
It's just throwing the ball less than 30 times. You're not going to have a ton of yards, but still being inefficient with those throws is just kind of troublesome. Let's get a little bit more positive here because Missouri did win this game. Well, actually, we're going to go negative just for one more moment. Let's talk about the clock management at the very end of regulation. So right before this, Missouri got in Harrison Mevis range with about a minute left, and he missed a 46-yard field goal attempt. That sucks. He's definitely capable of making that, but he's not going to make all of them. So it was tied 16-16. Florida gets the ball back, does nothing, and Florida acts like they're okay with just taking this to overtime. Missouri calls timeout, like they want to try to do something with the ball once they get it, or at least try to get the ball back. So then Florida's like, okay, if you're going to do that, we'll actually run a real play. And then Missouri did get the ball back and then didn't try to do anything with it. Yeah,
they punted it to Missouri, and then Missouri gets the ball back with a few seconds left and take a knee.
Yeah,
it was really bizarre.
It was like
timeout usage.
Yeah, it was like they were conflicted. It was like the coaching staff wasn't sure what they actually wanted to do there. It was like, okay, well maybe let's try to get the ball back, and then Florida's like, okay, fine, we'll run a play, and then Missouri's like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, well, maybe they just wanted to see what would happen with a punt or something. I don't know, but I think that you just create a potential disaster if Boo Smith muffs the punt. Yeah. Florida's in field goal range, game over.
But then once you have the ball, might as well throw one deep to the end zone.
I would think so.
Or do like Florida did at the end of the half and just
pump Bazelak stats a little bit.
Yeah, I mean he could use it.
Yeah, I don't know. They just seemed really indecisive, and I thought they flirted with the disaster a little too much there. If Florida was going to run out the game and give up, you just let them, I think, unless there's going to be
that's fun. That's a fine way to go about it. But then if you are going to try to get the ball back, do something once you get it.
They kind of didn't either.
Yeah, it was weird, kind of in between. That would be talked about a lot more if Missouri had not won this game, I feel like. But luckily, we can kind of move past that. No big deal.
Well, I was just surprised that Florida was just giving up.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know why they just were content to run out the clock.
Yeah. Well,
They had like 40 seconds. That's
Yeah.
plenty of time to get to field goal range.
yeah, if it was the other way around, Missouri's definitely trying to. I mean, they've done it this season, trying to get in field goal range. So we go to overtime. Florida runs a nifty little play, Philly special. They throw it back to the quarterback, touchdown. Florida takes the lead, kick the extra point. I'm not feeling so good about this one anymore.
Considering our offense couldn't do much all game, I was not feeling great about it.
But they did exactly what
But
they did the entire
Tyler Beatty exists.
fourth quarter, and they just handed it to Tyler Beatty twice, and he made it look so easy. Like, Florida's defense did not put up a fight. 2
No.
carries in the end zone. Then you're going to kick an extra point. You're going to go for 2. What were you thinking in that moment?
I was literally about to ask you this.
We were actually watching the game together at your house, and I said jokingly, like, when nothing was happening on TV, I was like, they're going for it. And I like faked you out a little bit. Like, what? Like, how you were thinking probably like, how in the world would you know that? Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing happening on the screen. And
Well,
then
do you remember what my reaction was? Or that I just was like,
I don't remember.
well, I feel like I could tell you what
Okay, let's hear it.
what my thought process was. I thought they would kick the extra point, and retrospectively, I think I kind of wanted them to, and I'm really glad I'm not the coach
Yeah.
because that's not what happened.
Yeah. That's such a tough call. I mean, you want to say that you'd be able to. I mean, I saw a lot of people on Twitter acting like, oh, that's a no-brainer. You go for the win at home. I don't know what being at home has to do with that decision exactly, but sure, that's fine if you want to say that. And maybe that's your call 100% of the time. That's fine. That's tough to do in that spot, I think. But maybe
To go for it and not get it, and then just to think, wow, we could have basically guaranteed that we continue this game.
Yeah.
That's a tough thing to live with.
Yeah, I agree. But coaching staff doesn't have to think about it. Coach Drink made the right call in this situation, and they just they had a good play. But Florida almost like blew up this good play action call. Yeah. We watching the game were like, they have to do play action here. Like surely
you can't
Florida
hand it off here.
Surely Florida will just like sell out to stop the run because
And they did.
Well, they were pretty ready for the
oh yeah, you're right.
The like right side of the field. The first 2 reads, like it was
Tyler Beatty went off to the right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of chaotic there in the moment, and then next thing you know, Daniel Parker Jr. is standing wide open in the end zone. The ball's like floating. It's like time is slowing down. It looks like surely there's enough time for the defense to do something, but there was just nobody around him.
Yeah, I mean, the defenders were right in Bazelak's face. I mean, he was falling down backwards, throwing the ball. I mean, it looked disastrous before you saw the open receiver.
Yeah, and even before Bazelak saw him, I was like, there's nothing here.
Yeah.
Like,
he's about to get sacked.
Beatty was covered. The corner of the end zone was covered. Nothing good could happen here. And they found Daniel Parker Jr. over there on the backside of the play.
And coach said he was the 3rd read on that play.
Yes, that's what I was going to bring up.
That's pretty crazy.
So, again, Bazelak doing what he's done many times for Missouri, going through his reads and finding the open man.
Well, it sounded like they practiced that play quite a bit and had just recently practiced it like the day before the game. And Bazelak had normally been going to Beatty on that play in practice. But the day before the game, he decided to throw it to Daniel Parker Jr.'s way, and so it kind of like unlocked that in his mind, like, okay, this is like a pretty doable route, like right in front of my face.
Well, it absolutely needed it
exactly. And
moment.
I don't know if he doesn't practice it that way, but the day before, I don't know if mentally he processes quickly enough. I've got an open guy right here. Mm-hmm. Maybe he does. I don't know, but he very quickly was able to pivot.
Yeah,
and that was great.
Yeah, I mean, just in the nick of time. Like, there was no extra half a second to spare there because there was a guy on top of him. But
what a great way for Daniel Parker Jr. to go out.
Absolutely.
Most likely his last home game, unless he's eligible to come back next year. I doubt he will, but great way for him to go out. Pretty special moment.
Yeah, that's just awesome. And
I think that was a north end zone too.
True.
So breaking the curse.
Potentially. Like every once in a while something good will happen there, and then it just kind of gets it doesn't fit the narrative. So also awesome game for Tyler Beatty to be his last home game, going over 100 yards, putting himself in a good position to go after that all-time yardage, single season rushing yardage mark, potentially, with 2 games left to play, and clinching a bowl victory or a bowl appearance is huge. That, like 3 weeks ago, it was not looking good.
Oh gosh,
Missouri's bowl chances not looking good, and then to go and beat South Carolina and Florida of all teams, like they've got some annoying fan bases, believe it or not, and they've had some annoying coaches over the years, and to defeat them in back-to-back games, to clinch a bowl berth in a season that felt lost a month ago.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Huge.
Dan Mullen saying the complete opposite. He was on top of the world 4 weeks ago, and now he's gone. That is ruthless, I gotta say. Like, I don't like Dan Mullen at all. I hate him as much as the next guy, but pretty crazy. I feel like he's a pretty good coach, and he did some good stuff at Florida. And I'm a little bit surprised that with his $12 million buyout.
That's insane.
That's just ridiculous. I mean, I don't know. If you've lost the team, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
and like, I feel like he would be around if they had like the number 3 recruiting class in the SEC, and they were like top
recruiting
10.
Seems to be a big part of it.
Yeah.
As well. He doesn't seem to love recruiting. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, he hasn't been incredibly successful as of late, and I mean,
Florida standards.
Yeah, exactly. And this year, I mean, Emory Jones is a good player, and it seems like he doesn't have the confidence of Coach Mullen. Like, it just seems like at every turn, at least from what I've heard, obviously I don't follow Florida as much as a Florida fan, but it just seems like Mullen's been very negative about Jones' play, and I kind of don't know if it's super warranted.
I'm sure he's a difficult person to work with.
Yeah, he kind of seems that way. Yeah. Just overall, great win for Missouri. What a finish. Like, just walking off after a 2-point conversion is successful. That's one of the better ways to win a football game in college football.
Got to carry the seniors to go get their rock.
Yeah.
A pretty special moment.
Yeah, those last little like senior day things can be wildly different based on the outcome of the game.
Yeah.
But they got to end on a high note there at home. Looking at the SEC East standings, so Missouri moves to 6-5 on the season, 3-4 in SEC play. Florida now 2-6 for the season in SEC play.
Nobody saw that coming.
So I was trying to see where Mizzou could end up. They will obviously, they've locked it in. They're going to finish higher than Florida. They also will definitely finish higher than South Carolina, no matter what happens, because South Carolina, I believe, they're done with their SEC schedule. Missouri technically could pass Tennessee. So Missouri's right now 4th in the SEC East. They could pass Tennessee for 3rd, but that's probably not going to happen because Tennessee would have to lose to Vanderbilt, and Missouri would have to beat Arkansas. So it looks like we're probably going to end up 4th place finish in the SEC East, no matter the outcome on Friday, which that's a win, honestly. Maybe not. That's
maybe not preseason we would have said that, but halfway through the season we would have said that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, preseason I'm like thinking, oh, that's a little bit disappointing, but it's not the end of the world.
I believe I actually asked you the exact question preseason. Would you be disappointed if Mizzou won 6 games this year? And there's a pretty good chance that's what is actually going to happen. Yeah. And I don't remember your exact quote, but I think you said, I'd be disappointed, but it's not the end of the world. Like, I'm not going to fire the coach, if that's what happens. But it's just always interesting the route you take there. We never would have guessed the route to 6 games in the way that we got there, and maybe we still get to 7 too. But it's been an interesting year.
I'm happy that they went ahead and got to 6 wins now, so that I feel like that's got to be a little bit of relief on the coaching staff and the players going into the Arkansas game.
Yeah, I don't think you want to be going into Fayetteville or wherever they're going to play this game. Don't they sometimes play this game in Little Rock?
Yeah.
Is that where they're playing it?
I don't know.
Who knows? Who cares?
They're not playing the state of Missouri.
Going into Arkansas, needing a win would not be would not be a great feeling, probably.
I agree. I do want to, before we jump all the way into the Arkansas game, I want to talk about Tyler Beatty just a little bit more. He is a finalist for the Doak Walker Running Back Award, and this is from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. I just wanted to talk about like the stat situation. So he's one of 3 finalists for the Doak Walker Award, given to the best running back in the country. He is the leading rusher in the SEC. The other 2 finalists are Iowa State's Breece Hall and Michigan State's Kenneth Walker III. So there's only 3 guys left that can take home this award. The Post-Dispatch says, heading into Friday's regular season finale with Arkansas, Beatty ranks 4th nationally in rushing yards with 1,385 and just 193 rushing yards behind Devin West's single-season Mizzou record of 1,578 set in 1998. This is very annoying for me, but West ran for another 125 yards in that year's Insight.com Bowl 4 years before the NCAA began adding bowl stats to single-season totals. That's
I'm very sorry for you.
That drives me crazy. There's no records. Throw them all out. That's a pet peeve of mine, obviously. If you've listened to this podcast for a long time, you know I get a little annoyed when the stats don't match up and things change like that. So now, like, I have to, in my head, there will always be like an asterisk next to that record because it should have 125 yards added to it.
I don't understand why that's something I feel like you could retroactively.
Why would they not? I don't know. If I was in charge of like the Mizzou record book, which if anybody with the university is listening to this, the most updated record book is not available on the website for download. So we're like a year behind. Another thing that has bothered me
You're
this
probably
season.
the only person that knows that.
That's totally possible. Leave in the comments if you tried to look at any of the records this year and saw that it hasn't been updated. But if I was like in charge of Mizzou's internal record books, I would just like put the with bowl game stats as the records and then put an asterisk and say
includes
bowl game not recognized by the NCAA or something like that. Because it's just anarchy. If I mean, how can anybody?
We want order.
Exactly. One thing I did want to know in the Doak Walker Award finalists is, as noted by the Post-Dispatch, Beatty. They say Beatty is by far the most prolific receiver of the 3, with 53 catches for 335 yards and 4 touchdowns. Walker, they don't really throw him the ball, and Hall has 34 catches for 263 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I think that's
Is he all-purpose yards leader? That's probably an answer you don't know at the moment.
I can find it.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see him get some recognition nationally. I know that a lot of times some of these things don't happen if your team's not great, especially like Heisman. He's never going to be in the Heisman conversation with a 6-win Missouri team, but it's just great to see him get some recognition for a legitimately top award. It's a very prestigious award.
Yeah, ESPN doesn't have a way for me to easily see
Don't worry about it.
all-purpose yards.
But it's clear. He's probably the most well-rounded game of the 3 potentially. He's the most valuable to his team. I'm pretty confident in saying that.
Yeah. Do you know off the top of your head who's the leading rusher in NCAA this year? It's a name you're familiar with.
I feel like I should know this. It's not one of these 3 guys?
No.
Leading rusher.
Yep. Most rushing yards. Kenneth Walker III for Michigan State is second to this gentleman, whose name you do know, unfortunately.
Is he from Missouri? No. Oh. I have no clue.
Lou Nichols.
Oh, I should have known that. Central Michigan, yeah. Yeah,
So
he's had a great season.
Started off the season strong, running for 1 million yards against Missouri, and just kept doing it to everybody else this year, apparently. So we weren't like completely crazy back then when we said, that Central Michigan actually had a solid running game.
Mhm.
It wasn't just Missouri's bad defense.
It was both.
Yeah. All right, so Missouri travels to take on Arkansas. Arkansas 7-4 on the season, 3-4 in the SEC. They have wins over Texas, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, and LSU, and losses to Georgia, Ole Miss, Auburn, and most recently a 7-point loss to Alabama. So I don't know any other. I don't know about any other 4-win or 4-loss teams in the country, but that's gotta be. That resume is probably making you the best 4-loss team.
That's very possible. Arkansas's had a really good year. I think they had a pretty big win over A&M, point differential wise. The win over Texas seemed like a big win at the time. Obviously, Texas is not as impressive now looking back, but still, Arkansas is a lot better than I think most people thought they were going to be this year, and they're gonna be tough.
Yeah, A&M game. It was only 10 points, but 20-10 they held A&M to just 10 points. They didn't score any points against Georgia, lost 37-0. But then that most recent game against Alabama, they had won their 3 games before that, so they were kind of hot, and then put up a really good fight with Alabama. I mean, KJ Jefferson threw for 326 yards and 3 touchdowns against Alabama. Their star wide receiver, Treylon Burks, caught 8 passes for 179 yards and 2 touchdowns. There was some question about whether he would play this week because he got a little bit banged up in the Alabama game, but he will play. And they just seem to do okay against Alabama's defense. I think, obviously, Alabama's still a very good team, but their defense is a little bit of a step down from what we're used to seeing from them. I did find it fascinating, though. Alabama's offense just absolutely torched Arkansas through the air, especially. Bryce Young threw for 559 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Wow. Jameson Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been probably the best wide receiver in the SEC this year.
Yeah.
He
just catches touchdowns.
That's crazy.
That's all he does. Yeah.
That's, I guess, why you transfer to Alabama whenever they have some wide receiver openings.
Yeah, I'm going to just pull up. So his stats in this game, 8 receptions for 190 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
On the season, he's insanely fast for anybody that doesn't know. He's got 59 receptions for 1,200 yards and 13 touchdowns.
Wow. What a season for him.
Yeah.
First season for playing for Alabama, too.
Mm-hmm. After having 6 and 9 receptions in his first 2 seasons at Ohio State.
Nice. KJ Jefferson, we got a little glimpse of him last year. He had a good game against Missouri. I think he was kind of forced to start in that game, right?
Right.
A year ago, and played really well. That was a explosion of offense in that game for both teams. But he's been really good this year. He's pretty versatile. He's dangerous to the air. He can run on the ground. He's kind of a tank too, so he's tough to bring down. And Treylon Burks, I mean, he's not flashy, but he's big and he's gonna overpower you. He can go up and get it above your head. And honestly, Treylon Smith is pretty dangerous too at running back. I mean, if the passing game's not working, they'll figure it out on the ground. So in a good, like you said, good O-line. Arkansas is pretty dangerous on offense. They're maybe a little more vulnerable on defense right now, but I don't know. They've got some weapons.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough matchup for Missouri's defense, honestly. We've seen the defense be much improved, but still get kind of beat up against Georgia, just to be expected, but then be pretty solid against South Carolina and now Florida. But
it almost seems like they're a little more vulnerable through the air now than on the ground, and Arkansas absolutely has the ability to throw the ball well.
I think that Arkansas is better than their 7-4 record indicates. I mean, Arkansas and Missouri could have the same record if Missouri were to win this game, and I don't think they are. I think Arkansas is a better team than Missouri. I
probably agree.
Their 4 losses, it'd be tough to find 4 better losses in the country, I think.
Yeah, just Missouri has a question mark at the most important position on the field right now. Connor Bazelak has not been great, and he limits them a little bit. Doesn't move around on the ground. We've talked about it a lot. Has been pretty suspect the last few games. Just it seems like he's a little bit afraid to throw the ball down the field very much. We've debated whether or not that's him or play calling, but whatever it is, Missouri's offense is. I'm not sure they're going to be good enough to outpace Arkansas's offense in this game.
I was trying to find like a comparable conference game to maybe look at a loss for Arkansas, and I found the Auburn game. Auburn won 38-23, and in that game, KJ Jefferson was fine. Arkansas's rushing attack was fine. What really made the difference in that one is Arkansas did lose a fumble, and Auburn did have an interception, so that's pretty even there. It looks like Bo Nix wasn't really asked to do a whole lot, but still had some success, 11 yards per attempt. So I think just like in the Alabama just absolutely destroyed Arkansas's defense through the air. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we've seen Connor Bazelak take advantage of bad, and I'm not saying that Arkansas is necessarily bad, but if you're going to beat them, you're going to have to start throwing the ball around a little bit and making plays down the field. And we've seen Connor do that. And we've seen this offense execute like that. I mean, think about going back to the LSU game that was a shootout, or just the Arkansas game last year.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to get back into something like that, I think, to make this competitive.
The only way Tyler Beatty gets better than he already is if Missouri presents a dangerous passing game where that the defense has to respect. If the defense is putting 8 men in the box every play, nobody is going to be able to run the ball against them.
You have to hope that the defense gets tired and wears out like Florida did.
You know what happened in the Florida game whenever Missouri completed some passes down the field is we immediately gave Tyler Beatty some running room, and he broke some nice runs. So you have to make Arkansas respect the pass. If you're just going to hand it off to Beatty every time, we're not going to score very many points in this game.
Yeah, last year Missouri scored 50 points, and Connor Bazelak threw the ball 49 times for 380 yards.
Yeah, I want to know what's changed. I'm not really sure how this offense has taken this far of a step back comparatively to what they were doing last year.
The rushing attack was excellent for Missouri last year. Larry Roundtree, 185 yards. Tyler Beatty added 79 on just 6 carries.
Yeah. Tyler Beatty was like the key to winning this game versus Arkansas last year. He was amazing down the stretch.
Oh, geez. This is kind of tough to look at.
Kiki
Chisholm, 6 receptions, 113 yards.
Oof.
Where's that been?
If you haven't watched the highlights of that game in a while, you or the listeners, you should go back and watch the highlights of that game. It was... Man, that was one of the more fun games we've had in a really long time. Just seeing all the guys with their big plays, and Missouri really had to come from behind at the end of the game. Like they
scored 27 points in the fourth quarter.
Wow, they made some very clutch plays to be able to win that game.
Yeah, if this one on Friday isn't going so well, just turn on last year's game.
That's probably Damon Hazelton's best game last year too. Yeah. I remember him coming up in the clutch.
5 catches, 98 yards. Man. Imagine having like 2 receivers, both right around 100 yards in a game.
Haven't seen that in a while.
No. All right. Yes.
Tyler Beatty does lead in all-purpose yards.
Oof. Thank you very much, Producer Cameron.
Love to see that. So
by over 100.
Wow.
I don't know the history of the Doak Walker Award. I don't know how much like a team's success in the win-loss column affects that award, but. And obviously, the guy for Michigan State is incredible, and they rely on him heavily. But
I would expect him to win it.
Me too. But maybe he is the one of the 3 that has like nothing going on in the passing game or receiving game. So Beatty definitely has a leg up there against him in particular. It seems like we should be able to be more positive about this team after wins against South Carolina and Florida. But when the offense. When you're having to rely on field goals so much, when you can't get into the end zone consistently, it's just scary.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a little bit of a fading Florida team. It's not typically the team that we would see from Gainesville every year. I definitely don't want to take any credit away from what Missouri did in that game. It was a great win, a gritty win. But, Florida is not quite the team they were even 6 weeks ago. So it's tough to feel good about a win even, when the offense is struggling like it is. So I don't have a whole lot of confidence that Missouri's again going to win this game. I think they might beat Arkansas 25% of the time. It's definitely something they're capable of. But I see Arkansas winning this game. I'm going to say it's 34-24.
I actually started to write that score down, and then I changed it to 31-27. I hope Harrison Mevis gets a chance to kick a game winner again.
Redeem himself a little bit. Man, I was when he missed that kick and Florida was getting the ball with a minute or so left. Things were not feeling great.
No.
And
thank goodness Missouri's defense had been playing well, because if it had been like a shootout where whoever has the ball last wins and Florida gets it with a minute left, I would have been way more nervous. But I kind of had a little bit of confidence in the defense to just slow them down enough to take it to overtime.
Yeah.
But once Florida scored in overtime, I was like, geez, I don't know. I don't know if I can count on them to go get a touchdown right now.
Yeah. Well, it makes a victory sweeter whenever you have doubts along the way. Whenever you feel like your back is against the wall, that's when the victories feel the best.
I hope that happens against Arkansas. We're both predicting losses, but should be a competitive game. If Missouri wins this game, if they can win the turnover battle, plus Tyler Beatty just run all over the Hogs defense.
Oh yeah.
Is there a 3 games back to back against progressively worse fan bases, progressively more annoying and unbearable fan bases? South Carolina, Florida, and then Arkansas back to back.
Well, Tennessee's in there somewhere, but honestly, I cannot stand Arkansas fans. I'll just say it. I'm sorry. We may have some Arkansas fans listening to this. Individually, I'm sure you're fine, just wonderful people, but when it comes to some of these Twitter trolls, this really seems to be the worst with Arkansas, and beating them however many years it's been in a row now. I've lost count because it's been so many years.
It's not a rivalry,
It's
though,
pretty nice.
According
not
to
a
Arkansas.
rivalry.
Not a rivalry.
Yeah, exactly. It really isn't, because we win every game.
Yeah.
Except for maybe this weekend.
This week is always kind of sad to me, honestly, that we're playing Arkansas. And maybe, I don't know, maybe I don't care as much about this rivalry because of this, but I always kind of see this time in my mind as being when we should be playing Kansas. And we're about to pick the rest of the SEC games and a bunch of, in-state rivals going up against each other from different conferences. It would just be really cool if Missouri was in on that week with the rest of the conference getting to play Kansas. I think that'd be a lot more fun. I still like playing Arkansas, but if we could replace that year in, year out rivalry with playing Kansas and make Arkansas just a normal part of the West rotation, I would be okay with that. That rivalry isn't strong enough for me personally to not want to replace it with Kansas. Don't go anywhere. We're going to pick SEC games. Then we are going to talk about basketball, so stick around. We're going to try to figure out what's going on with this basketball team and whether we can expect them to win any games this year. Producer Cameron, take it away. How do we do last week? Where do we stand? There's not many weeks left to pick
We're
games.
running out of time. Last week was pretty chalky. Everyone picked all the same teams every game except one when I picked Nebraska, unfortunately. But anyway, you both scored 6 points. I scored 5, and Tristan, the guest picker, scored 6. That brings our season total to I am in last with 55. Kyle has 56. Cameron has 59, and the guest pickers have 66 points.
Man.
But big week this week.
Okay.
9 games to pick this
Let's
week.
go.
So
Make some moves. Now or never.
We've been saying this every week.
but now more than any other week.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
Alrighty.
See what we can do.
Game number 1 is number 9 Ole Miss at Mississippi State. Mississippi State is a 1.5 point favorite.
Number 9 Ole Miss is an underdog to unranked Mississippi State. Did I hear that right?
Yeah.
That's what it says.
It's at Mississippi State.
I'll take Ole Miss. Egg Bowl,
Yeah. Give me the home team,
which is
Mississippi State.
congratulations.
Who'd you take?
Ole Miss for me, please.
I might change my mind depending on what the guest picker pick. Who's our guest picker this
Our
week?
guest picker this week is Parker.
All right. Well, who do you pick?
Ole Miss.
Welcome in, Parker. I'll pick Mississippi State.
I'll take Mississippi State.
All right.
Our next game is number 1 Georgia at Georgia Tech. Georgia is a 35-point favorite.
That'd be close.
I'll take Georgia.
Close to Georgia scoring 100 points. I'll take Georgia.
Does Georgia Tech still run the triple option?
I think so.
Ooh.
Will they forever?
What happens when Georgia Tech has to hire a new coach and the coaches never run the triple option before? Didn't they just always hire people that have experience with the triple option?
Great question. I'd have to
It's like a dying.
I'd have to look at all their coaching changes. Like, have they just had the same coach for as long as I've been
I
alive?
have no clue.
And just always run
same
the triple
thing
option?
with like Navy
Yeah.
runs the triple option.
Yeah.
Man. Anyway, everybody on Georgia.
Okay.
Florida State at Florida. Florida is a 3-point favorite.
Oh man.
Give me Florida State.
Florida State's not good.
They're bad.
They're
I
Probably
think
not gonna
Florida's gonna turn it around. They're gonna get that new coach bump, the interim coach bump, and I think they'll beat Florida State. They'll have a little something to play for this week.
I'm trying to see if there's any precedent for Florida State beating anybody even a little bit good this year. They beat North Carolina. They beat Miami. They beat Boston College.
Parker picked Florida.
Oh, man. Give me Florida State.
Let's go. Alrighty, number 3, Alabama at Auburn. Alabama is a 19.5-point favorite.
I'll take Alabama. But that might be a close-ish game.
I disagree. Give me Bama. Not close.
Wow.
Oh, I thought he was going to pick Auburn. All right, everybody picks Alabama. Vanderbilt at Tennessee. Tennessee is a 31-point favorite.
Yeah, I'll take Tennessee.
I will as well.
All right, me too. And so does Parker. Number 15, Texas A&M at LSU. Texas A&M is a 6.5-point favorite.
Maybe I should have gone for some of those upsets earlier.
Uh,
I'm picking all favorites here. Where's it at?
LSU.
give me A&M.
Yeah,
Me too.
I got to do it. You
Who-
picking
who
A&M?
Parker
Who to-
pick?
LSU.
Oh no. Okay, give me A&M if he pick LSU.
Yep. All right. Number 23, Clemson at South Carolina. Clemson is a 11.5-point favorite.
Clemson not as good as usual.
No.
Not by a long shot.
Oh man, I really want to pick South Carolina here.
I'm gonna.
Feel free.
Okay, I'll pick Clemson.
Oh, man.
I just gotta make sure I don't get last. That's all I'm thinking about.
Wow. Oh, geez. I'll take Clemson. I'm gonna be mad if South Carolina wins that and I didn't pick them. That's how that works.
They pulled off the upset last week.
That's true.
Kentucky at Louisville. Louisville is a 3-point favorite.
Oh, that's easy, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Kentucky.
Everybody pick Kentucky?
Yeah, so I'm going to take Louisville. Why
Okay,
not?
sure.
Sure, go right ahead. I feel like Cam, you're gonna be in like second. Producer Cam, you're gonna be in like second or like dead.
I'm going to be
dead
like
last.
25 points
Yeah,
out
you're
after
gonna be
this
way
one.
out of it potentially.
Risk it all. All right, I was just making sure.
Louisville, another team that beat Boston College this year.
Interesting.
All right. Number 16, Iowa at Nebraska. Iowa is a 1.5-point favorite. Give me Nebraska.
Who'd Parker pick?
Iowa.
Give me Nebraska. They're going to win.
Let's go.
You're kidding me.
They're going to win a game.
It's at Nebraska?
At Nebraska. Against a ranked team. It'll be close at least.
Also, by the way, Missouri would stomp Boston College if they played right now. Actually, Boston College got their quarterback back, though. And
Quarterback.
back. Phil Jerkovich or whatever his name was?
Yep.
I don't know.
Nebraska in the middle of a 5-game losing streak.
Yes.
They will redeem themselves this week.
3 of those to ranked teams. All 3 of those games fairly close, including Ohio State. Man.
Yeah, they I'm
They
not even
legit
joking.
had opportunities in almost, I think, maybe all but one ranked.
They lose every game.
Parker
close.
picked Iowa?
Yes.
Sure did.
Okay, Nebraska, do it for us.
Let's
Do it
go.
for the podcast.
Do it for the hosts.
Please, somebody.
Come on.
Next year, no more guest pickers.
Well, if we make a miraculous comeback here, then surely that wouldn't happen twice, like 2 years in a row. We'll see.
JD, no more guest
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
not allowed
he's
to pick
banned.
anymore. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's switch gears, talk about basketball. So last week, Missouri got wins over Northern Illinois and SMU, but then lost to Florida State. Kyle, you predicted that Missouri would beat SMU when we talked about the schedule in the preseason. Is this how you expected it to happen?
I think I changed my mind before, like when we predicted the game last week.
Yes.
Though I think I changed my mind, so I don't know that I can take credit for that. But I was a little bit surprised they pulled this out, especially in the game. Like halfway through the game, I was like, they're no chance, but they mounted a comeback.
Yeah, so against Northern Illinois, Missouri won that game 54-37. Northern Illinois is not good. Their KenPom rating has gotten worse since they played Missouri. And good job limiting them to under 40 points. But at the same time, you got to score more than 54 points against a bad team like that.
Yeah.
And Missouri's offense struggled. Missouri's offense struggled in the SMU game. They got out to kind of a quick start, but then SMU went on a 18-0 run.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know it was that bad.
To end the first half.
18-0?
Yes. So it was not looking good. I was like full on,
It's over mode.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
But Missouri clawed their way back in. They didn't go on any big run, really. It was basically just like the entire second half. They just kept chipping away at the lead.
Yeah.
And
it felt like the last 5 or so minutes, they were really efficient offensively. Yeah. But so was SMU. They were kind of just like trading buckets there for a while.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. The last 10 minutes of the game, Missouri outscored SMU 25-16. So, like I said, never really a big run, but just steadily outscoring them, getting enough stops basically to make it happen. And then in overtime, Mizzou ended up winning by 5. So they kind of were able to control overtime for the most part, got a lead, were able to keep getting buckets and pulled it out. It wasn't like a spectacular win exactly, but they just kind of showed that they were not going to give up in this game. They went down, but they fought back and made it a game and ended up pulling it out in overtime.
Yeah, it was good to see just shots go in, which Missouri has not really seen that consistently this year at all. And they kind of weathered the storm with, SMU had 2 really good players. The shorter guard was crazy.
Yeah,
I can't remember his name. Davis. Yeah, he had a great mid-range game. He was making threes like crazy at the end.
Yeah.
He was
29 points.
Dynamic player for sure.
Yeah, Kobe Brown with a really solid game. 24 points, 5 of 9 from 2, 3 of 6 from 3. Made 5 of his 6 free throw attempts. Had 7 rebounds, 2 assists, a block, and a steal.
Yeah, he was definitely the X factor there to Missouri's offense, kind of getting back to relevance there for at least a few minutes. He was kind of making everything go. He's so versatile. He can shoot and drive and kind of brings something that nobody else on the roster brings, and is able to kind of bang around down low too. So he's a special player.
And was this the game where he was he finished the game with 4 fouls, but was he in foul trouble for a little bit? Had to kind of
I can't
manage his minutes a little bit, but Ronnie Degray was also a significant contributor. He had 18 points, 2 for 3 from 3, perfect from the free throw line, 6 for 6, and also had 6 rebounds. Somebody like that is we're every night, in order for Missouri to have a chance, we're going to need 2 guys to kind of step up and make shots. I don't think Kobe can do it by himself. I don't think any one of the transfers can do it by themselves. Pickett could be that guy some of the time, but this one, he only scored 2 points in 24 minutes and had 0 rebounds. So he was kind of invisible.
You're talking about
one.
Pickett?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel like he had a rough tournament. Kind of seems like he wasn't making much of an impact.
He didn't play very much in the second half of this game.
Mm-mm.
He sat on the bench for quite a while.
Dejuan Gordon, Dejuan Gordon, I completely messed up his name. I thought this was his best game by far as a Missouri Tiger. He played really well, was making shots, was defending well. Definitely looked like he was playing as advertised.
Yeah, they put him on the point guard Davis down the stretch and just one-on-one, like, you got to stop this guy from destroying us. And he was able to do it. Enough, I guess, to pull out the win. But then Missouri had to play Florida State in the championship of this tournament, and that went about as well as you could have predicted. Florida State is pretty good. They are very tall and long, a lot of matchup problems for any team, especially one that offensively that struggles as much as Missouri. And they play a lot of guys, and Missouri didn't play a lot of guys in the SMU victory, even though it was an overtime game. The core 6 players plus Wilmore were the guys getting minutes, and that just wasn't going to work against Florida State. Too many bodies, too well-conditioned, and just too athletic all around.
They were suffocating on defense. I mean, Missouri, they would try to drive, and they'd be like fumbling the ball everywhere. They were just getting hounded like crazy by the Florida State guys, and this game was just never close, even from the get-go.
Florida State was 23 for 30 on 2-point field goal attempts.
Wow.
77% shooting from 2.
Yeah, it felt like they were very efficient, making everything. Were not hindered whatsoever by Missouri's defense. It was dominant.
Yeah. They didn't destroy us on the boards. Missouri had some offensive rebounds, but I mean, offensively, they're just really good. Florida State's really good defense, and so offensively, Missouri just wasn't going to be able to match them.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it was especially in the first half, Missouri was just turning the ball over so much that Florida State was getting whatever they wanted in transition. It just almost felt like Missouri's defensive efforts in the half court didn't matter because they were playing in transition so much, and Florida State was just taking the ball from them. Yeah,
Missouri had 17 turnovers on the game, 10 steals for Florida State. So obviously that's going to lead to some transition buckets. So in this kind of 3-game stretch now, Northern Illinois, SMU, Florida State, 3 kind of very different opponents as far as quality. You go from one of the worst teams in the country, Northern Illinois, kind of a peer to Missouri this year in SMU, and then a substantially better team in Florida State. What are your kind of feelings overall from that 3-game stretch?
Well, I kind of feel like this team is exactly what we thought they were. They're going to be pretty good defensively when they want to. They're going to struggle offensively for most of the game, but have the ability to go on runs if they have the right matchups. I mean, I don't know, man. The Northern Illinois game was pretty disappointing. I would have liked to see them be more successful offensively in that game. And then I feel like I could almost say the opposite against SMU. I expected them to lay down and die a little bit in that game, and they didn't at all. They did the opposite. They did what I almost felt like was the impossible. I think we're going to see a little bit of that throughout the year. Missouri's not going to be favored in very many games they play this year, but they're going to be scrappy. I think against UMKC, we kind of blasted them for not playing very hard in that game, but they definitely recovered. They played hard in these games, and I think against a lower level opponent that isn't Florida State, I think they have the ability to shut teams down like that if they really, really want to. And so I think we'll probably see some low scoring games. I think Missouri will upset a few teams, but for the most part, I think this could be in kind of a rough year like we've expected.
Yeah. Not to try to sugarcoat things too much, UMKC is a better team than their preseason rating would have suggested. So instead of that being like the second worst loss in Mizzou history, it might be like the fifth worst or fourth worst. So it may not be as bad as it looked by the end of the season. One thing I wanted to talk about was Jordan Wilmore. Still getting minutes. UMKC is now the fewest minutes that he's had in a game. He had 16 minutes against Northern Illinois, 15 against SMU, just 10 against Florida State. Northern Illinois, he actually was scoring the ball. 5 of 7 shooting for 11 points and 6 rebounds. But then against SMU, 0 for 6 from the field, 0 points in 15 minutes played. I think it's pretty obvious that the Northern Illinois game is the outlier. It was just such a ridiculous size advantage for him down low. He's going to have that size advantage a lot, but he just doesn't have the footwork or the touch or on the rim. It was like frustrating seeing him get the ball in a position to score sometimes and just kind of chucking the ball at the basket just to see what would happen. If you can get it to him where he can like pivot into a dunk, then do that all the time. But he's got to, I don't know. It seems like the coaching staff wants to feed him the ball like they did with Tillman to some extent. I mean, like, why? I don't think we should be running plays to try to get Wilmore the ball in the post with him looking to score. If the defense falls asleep, like Northern Illinois did a few times, and you can get him the ball where he can just turn and dunk it, then do that. But I think we're wasting possessions when we try to run the offense through Wilmore in the post, unless the whole plan is to kick it back out as soon as possible.
Yeah, a lot of his points against Northern Illinois seemed like they just came off of like taking advantage of defensive breakdowns and guys not like losing him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. He's doesn't look like a consistent scorer. Yeah, you literally use the word like chucked.
Yeah.
The ball, like it kind of is what it looked like. If he's guarded, it's going to be tough for him to consistently score.
Even undersized players.
Yeah.
Playing defense.
Make him uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was in the SMU game. Yaya Keita had 3 points in that one. 1 for 1. He just shot a 3 in like a pick and pop situation, and I was almost like did a double take.
The TV announcers were freaking out.
Yeah, I had to do a double take and make sure that it was actually him shooting. I just didn't know that he would have the green light on a pick and pop, but apparently he does. He only played 6 minutes in that game and was able to knock down a 3.
Yeah, the post has just been a little bit of a black hole, and we completely expected that coming into the year. So that's why Kobe Brown has kind of had to play some minutes there, which we knew he was gonna have to do that.
Yeah, he's definitely showed his versatility so far. I just feel like come conference play and some of these last few, I mean, we play Eastern Illinois, which is like 350th KenPom team, in like 2 weeks. Play Eastern Illinois at home. From then until
like March.
Well, Iowa State is a triple-digit KenPom team, 111. But then after that, it's literally the last game of the season. Georgia is 172. So Georgia will be flirting with like going winless in conference play. So there's an opportunity there. We do get them at home.
It's going to be a grind.
Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, we're going to need shots to start falling. And I feel like Boogie Coleman looked so good in that very first game of the season, and he was never intended to be a fixture in the starting lineup, but he hasn't been there the last few games, and he's actually looked a little bit better on defense than he did early on. But I don't know. The staff has to figure out what they want him to do on offense.
Yeah,
because when he's initiating the offense, he's not available for spot up jumpers, and it just doesn't seem like they're trying to get him the ball in a position to score very often.
Well, if you want to try and paint a rosy picture, I think defensively this team can be pretty good. Offensively, they're not there yet, but maybe playing together over the course of the season, they improve. They're never going to be good offensively, I don't think, but playing together for the course of the season, I think it's possible they can make some strides, and I think they'll improve potentially. But yeah, they need to be able to shoot consistently, and nobody is doing that right now.
So we've got upcoming matchups against Wichita State at home on Friday, and then Paul Quinn, the man himself, on Monday. So Wichita State's 64th in KenPom. They're 4-1 so far this season. They've had some really they've kind of played to their competition so far this year. They've had a little bit closer games against Jacksonville State and South Alabama than I think Wichita State would like to have. But then they took number 18 Arizona to overtime on a neutral court, and then beat UNLV by 1 point most recently on Sunday. So I think this is a winnable game for Missouri. It's a home game. Wichita State's strength is defense, so we might be in for a struggle of a game, a little bit of a defensive slog perhaps. And Wichita State definitely, it's kind of a coin flip. If this was a neutral site or away, I think Wichita State maybe wins this one fairly easily. Mm-hmm. But home game for Missouri, I still think probably Wichita State pulls it out, but I think it'll be pretty close.
Yeah, I feel like this is a pretty comparable game to SMU. I feel like pretty similar opponents. I think Missouri's going to win this game, and they may not. I have no idea, but I think they'll win the game at home, and I think they know what kind of grind they have in store for them this year. But and so maybe they'll understand the importance of getting some non-conference wins when they can.
Yeah, Wichita State's offense not awesome, not great shooting team. They do get a lot of offensive rebounds though, so if we can limit that, then we might be in business. And then Paul Quinn, poor guy, has to play an entire basketball team by himself. And Kyle's ready for this game to be over so that I'll stop making jokes like that.
He's really good, though, so better watch out. Just kidding. They're terrible. They're NAIA. This ought to be like a 40-point win, and I don't know what good it does.
No.
Even if you do win by 40.
Yeah.
Because you don't really figure anything out about your team.
Exactly. I agree with all of that. They'll be running up and down in transition the whole game, probably scoring at will and probably getting to the free throw line.
Yeah, practice some free throws.
Yeah. Playing a bad team doesn't make you automatically able to shoot threes better, but
might be open a little more.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't really understand this matchup, but it should be a win.
Maybe there's some kind of explanation for some kind of scheduling issue that caused that to happen, but we'll take the victory. KenPom doesn't give you credit for it. They say, if you're not playing a D1 opponent, we don't care. They don't even log the stats for it.
That's reasonable.
Okay, so we're thinking potentially 2 wins for the basketball team. That would be nice. Get some momentum going. There's definitely tougher games ahead on the schedule. But I think that's it. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Enjoy time with family or alone time away from work or whatever you're doing. Anything else for the folks?
Yeah, we certainly appreciate you guys. Thanks for listening.
Special thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above: Britt Treese, Ryan Smith, Ryan Lee, Tristan, Ben Smith, Parker, Daddy JD, Luis Hernandez, and Tim Keens.
Thank you, everybody, for listening, and thank you, gents. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, gents. You can find our t-shirts and stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. We will see you next week.
After some wins.
I hope so.